So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chico Xavier Learning Center. Today is the night that we have our Emmanuel study, where we select a chapter of one of his books that were psychographed by Chico Xavier. And after that, we're gonna have our virtual passes and laying on of hands for those who are in person at our center. Understanding that the spiritual passe is basically a transference of positive energy that we receive blessings from the celestial spirits. So before we start, let's close our eyes, take a deep breath in and out. And again, one more time, a deep breath in and out, making sure that we are present, not only physically present, but our mind and our spirit is here as well. And let's connect with our guardian angel, thanking him for this opportunity of growth, learning a little bit more about Jesus' teachings, Jesus' lessons, so we can apply them on our day-to-day lives. Let's greet all the superior spirits that are at this time connected with us, because we know that we are never alone. That even if we are at home and it's just us, one of us, our house at this time is visited by celestial beings, at the same way as us, come at this moment to receive love, peace, and all the blessings that we need to balance our bodies. Let's thank our dear mentor, Chico Xavier, from the center, from this opportunity. And may we absorb as much as possible all the moral content that is going to be shared by Emmanuel tonight. Thank you. So tonight, our study is about the book Living Spring, chapter 38, which the name is If We Only Knew. I thought that was very interesting because a couple weeks ago, I talked about a very similar passage, which is when Jesus is at the cross, and just keeping in mind that we just passed Easter. So this is very timely, thinking that it's very recent, the memory of the symbol of Easter. That in my point of view, Easter is even more important than Christmas, because Easter teaches us that life continues, that there is life after the death of our material body. So we have an opportunity to rethink our priorities that we live every day while on earth. So the letter that we're studying today is from Luke chapter 23, verse 34, and it says, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Jesus. So Jesus is at the cross, as we can see here. And Emmanuel is going to develop a little bit what he means by this forgiveness and also not sin. So Emmanuel starts developing the chapter saying, if murderers knew beforehand how much pain life is going to charge them in order to readjust their destiny, they would prefer not even to have arms at all in order to withhold the deadly blow. The defamers could eliminate the crust of darkness that maddens their vision and foresee the suffering that awaits them as they settle accounts with the truth. They would paralyze their vocal cords or lay down their pen rather than wrongly accuse someone. So, what Emmanuel is doing here is basically talking about all of us. And when we are doing something wrong, something that's not connected with the divine laws, with the laws of God, with the law of love, the consequences that are going to happen on our decisions. If deserters of the good could see the dangerous traps that the darkness sets to steal their joy of living, they would gladly wear the sanctifying shackles, that is like chains, of the heaviest responsibilities. If ingrates could see the bile of bitterness that will invade their heart later on, they would never penetrate the crime of indifference. And I thought this is one that is very intense because in this specific paragraph, Emmanuel is teaching us how disrespectful, how wrong is to do not have gratitude, that actually lack of gratitude is a crime. So continuing, if selfish persons could perceive the infernal loneliness, look at the word that he's choosing, infernal loneliness that is waiting for them, they would never depart from their tireless practice of fraternity and cooperation. If gluttons could see the damage they are causing their bodies, thus accelerating their death, they would render unwavering worship to frugality and harmony. And this too, they also called a lot my attention because in a world that many of us carry this heavy baggage of being selfish and prideful, we can see that the result of these choices are loneliness, is sadness. He's reminding us that if we do not practice fraternity or charity, we'll be alone. And we know that medicine today has been showing us that by practicing good, we release serotonin from our body. So this hormone of happiness that provides not only the well-being, but also physical health. He's also calling our responsibility regarding the choices that we make in terms of diet. In a country that a vast number of people is overweight or severely overweight, we see here Emmanuel 70 years ago reminding us that if we do not learn to love our body, to treat our body with nutritious food in a balanced way, with frugality and harmony, we will be accelerating our death. So we will be seen as indirect suicide people when we arrive in the spiritual realm. So the choices that we make in our lives in terms of thoughts, but also in terms of the diet, the physical diet, the diet are very important. And then he closes. If we knew, he doesn't say you. If we knew how terrible the result of disrespecting the divine laws will be, we would never depart from the upright road. And I love this metaphor of the upright road. Uh, what is this upright road? This is straight road is when we follow Jesus' teachings. Because he says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. So he's basically showing us that he's the model, that he should be the inspiration to our everyday choices. Every time we try to go in a different direction, and we can see that as drivers every day, we have many choices in terms of what roads we choose when going to work or going to the supermarket. We can, and if we open Waze or Google Maps, they say, okay, the road without tolls, the fastest route or the shortest route, and not always the shortest route is the fastest one. So I thought that was interesting to see that here is saying that we have choices, we have our free will, but every time that we consciously make the wrong one, we will suffer. And then he continues. So forgive those who hurt you or slander, insult you. Those who give into the disturbing suggestions of evil do not know what they are doing. And this, I think, is also so beautiful because what Emmanuel is saying is that those who are doing evil is not because they are mean, because they need to basically burn in hell or whatever we may have heard from other religions. No, he's saying that those who do not do good is because of ignorance. It's because they do not know better. They are like immature children who have not learned yet how to make good choices. So when we see Emmanuel on this, developing this chapter, he is reminding us that Jesus was on the cross. And when he was in this horrible situation, and if we imagine the cross, at that time, that was the most cruel way, the most painful way to kill someone. There was no other option. It was absolutely horrible. And I don't know how many of us ever thought about what it meant to be stapled on a cross. Every time the person would breathe, it would basically tense the arms and the feet, and that would tear even more their limbs. And I don't want to go into details in terms of what else happened when by the death of in the cross, but we see that it was carefully chosen the most disrespectful way to insult Jesus. Nevertheless, when he's there on the cross, he prays. He prays for, according to the Bible, for everyone. And everybody heard that prayer because he was not in a quiet place. He was in the middle of the crowd. And then when he does that, he's basically leaving his teaching saying, bless those who curse us, bless those who do not understand us, bless or do good for those who do not like us, do not love us, who persecute us. He was showing us how to live in a way, in a moment that none of us know today how horrible it is. When he says, for those who do not, because they do not know what they do, he is recognizing this moral blindness in us. He did not say, excuse, they are not guilty. No, he's not saying that, because he knows that each one of us have free will, and we will always get the result of our choices. But on his prayer, he's basically fulfilling also a prophecy from Isaiah, which was very important. So the people who were there seeing him knew that he was an innocent man. And they, by that prophecy, they knew that they were bringing down on themselves all the sufferings by this choice. And that will happen to us, of course, every time we make wrong choices too. Of course, this is an extreme, and this is the version of the Bible when is interpreted in a way, this verse is interpreted that Jesus is forgiving the people like us who were there looking at him being crucified. But if we go to one of the Chico Xavier's books that is called Short Stories and Apologias, chapter 26, the spirit Irmão X, so brother X in English, unfortunately this book is not translated into English yet. He explains that in that very moment, the people that Jesus was forgiving, Jesus was feeling very alone, very sad. And he was looking at the crowd and looking for the 12 apostles, the ones that have learned with him, that have lived with him, that have prayed with him. And he could not see. He saw John with his mom, but he could not see the others because the others were afraid, were hiding, were ashamed. So he's very alone. He's thinking, well, in the past few years, I spent all the minutes that I had transferring to them the knowledge of loving one another, the knowledge of who I am. And they didn't really understand the importance of this commitment, the importance of their responsibility. They didn't understand because they were very fragile. They were fearful. They were weak. They had doubts. They made mistakes. So in that moment, instead of cursing them, cursing the 12 apostles, and letting that, letting anger or fully take the better part of him, he prays for forgiveness, knowing that they would find the results of their choices. That's not gonna, free them from their responsibility. But in that moment of that prayer, according to Chico Xavier's book, Jesus had peace stamped on his face. So even if the other person is not understanding because of the moment, the stage of who they are or where they are, the importance is what we do. We are responsible for creating our own peace, our castle of peace, not on the spite of other people's happiness, but building our peace based on love, based on the divine laws. And at the end of this chapter, Emmanuel says, if we knew how terrible the result of disrespecting the divine laws will be, we would never depart from the upright road. And then I ask myself, what are the characteristics of the divine laws? Well, they are the same characteristics of the Creator, the one who is the divine. So they are unchangeable, they are eternal, they are perfect, they are good, because they were made by God. According to the Spirit's book, the divine law is the idea that norms that guide human actions in the divine realm. So when we think about Jesus' behaviors and actions, we can see him living these divine laws all the time because his actions were based on love and charity to others. On the question 614 from the Spirit's book, Allan Kardec asks the spirits, what is meant by natural or divine law? The natural law is the law of God. It is the only true one for happiness of men. And I highlighted that because how many times we look for this happiness here on earth, on things that get old or can be stolen. So our happiness is based on the car that we drive, on the beauty of our bodies, how much we weight, where do we live, if we have family, kids or not. When he's showing that, that's not really happiness. Happiness is something different. He tells him that he should do or not do, and he's only unhappy when he walks away from it. So he's showing us that the real happiness is when we have this peace of mind that we are doing the best we can, that we are doing everything according to Jesus' teachings. We know that there are two types of laws. There are the divine laws that govern the matter, that's the science, is the studies, that's the physical laws, and there's also the moral laws. That's our relationship with God and vice versa. And this is the moral law. The moral law is the one that we are talking about here from a spiritual perspective, the one that will bring this happiness to us. So when we go through self-reflection, we have free will, and in the dictionary, we see that it's the power of acting without the constraint of necessity or faith, the ability to act at one's own discretion. I can do whatever I want, but there will be consequences. And the consequences are not under my control. This is the news, the big one, because the consequence is a result, is the effect of the action, of the choice that I made. So when we reflect on the consequences, we understand why we need to baseline our behavior, our thoughts, our words, our actions on the right side, on the good things, because of these consequences. One of the divine laws that will basically be ruling this is the law of cause effect, action and reaction. I throw a ball on the wall, it comes back. So when Jesus said, and this is basically described on Matthew 5, chapter 5, if your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. So if your eye is making you see wrong things, take it off. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than the whole body to be thrown into hell. And then he says the same thing about the right hand, to say cut off. So why is Jesus saying all these harsh words? That's better not to have an eye or a hand. So if we need to take the veil out of these words to understand what's the moral content, what's the background, behind his words, but otherwise they will sound very strange. When we take this veil, we will understand that he's talking about the consequences. He's talking about the law of cause and effect. He's saying that if we do not make good choices this life, we're going to reap exactly what we sow. It's as simple as any seed. If I plant lemon seeds, I'm going to get a lemon tree. If I plant apple seeds, an apple tree. If I plant good things, I'm going to reap good things, and so forth. When Emmanuel talks about this harsh behaviors, these vices, like the murders, and he says, if murderers knew beforehand how much pain in life they will going to face in order to readjust with the law, with the destiny, with the divine laws, they would prefer not to have arms at all. And we know there are different types of murders. Not all of us are murderers that we basically kill a human being, but what about other murders can we be? Murders of happiness, of hope, of dreams. Make a friend of mine comes very excited, telling me some news, exciting news, and I don't even let that person finish. And I throw something that makes that person feel less happy. Because I want to show off, I'm murdering their chance to show their happiness, to be heard, to celebrate. How many times we murder people's dreams? Or maybe we heard that when we were younger. Yeah, you will not be able to do this. You are stupid. You are unable, you will get to nowhere. And we continue to have that belief maybe for decades. And we continue in many cases doing that to other people. And we recreate this cycle of pain and suffering. So the invitation here is really to stop that cycle, to create a cycle of love. With the famers, that he says that the suffering that will wait for them, if they knew, if they understand, they would rather not have any voice at all. So if we think about, like the other day, someone was making a joke, it's like, what if somebody could read all your WhatsApp exchanges? Or what if you make a pledge with yourself not to say anything about bad about another person? Oh, that person is too fat, that person is too ugly, that person is not nice, that person keeps doing this wrong, or that person is not helpful. Can we converse with other people around us without bad-mouthing others? There is another story on the book from Irmão X, so Brother X, that was psychographed by Chico Xavier. The name in Portuguese is Pontos e Contos. It's not translated to English. And the chapter is 35. And in this story, we have a chat between James, Tiago, and Matthias, which was the last apostle that substitute Judas Iscariotes. And they were on their way to Bethany. Judas had already committed suicide. This was just after Jesus' death. And they are basically talking about Judas and telling horrible things about Judas, how he was able to do that, and they didn't trust, and his, evil interests and so forth. And then suddenly they see this person full of light coming into their direction. And they realize that's Jesus, resurrected. And then said, oh, Master, you're going back to Jerusalem. So should we, make a turn and go back, and then we can study with you a little bit? And And he was like, no, 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 you continue to do your route. And I said, but Jesus, are you going? I'm going to help Judas right now because he needs help. And in this chapter, psychographed by Chico Xavier, Irmão X says that James wrote in his epistle the need to control the tongue, that's chapter 3, because of that. What about the deserters? We need to remember that we are not here by chance. We have responsibilities with the people around us that we need to blossom where we were planted. Many times, life really throws us situations that seem too dark, too heavy. So what do we do? Should we desert life? Should we desert the ones that we love? Should we only think about ourselves? No. He's reminding us that we need to sanctify these chains, because many times these chains are the ones that are going to help us grow, mature as eternal spirits that we are. What about the ingrates? And Dante Alighieri says in his Divine Comedy that the ingrates are really in the lowest, like almost in the bottom of hell when he was describing them. Sometimes we are so ungrateful that we don't see God's actions in around us. We do not realize that the air we breathe is basically full of nutrients, that we can be without food for maybe a few days, without water for a couple of days. We cannot be without air for a handful of minutes. We forget that we woke up, that we have something to eat, that we can walk, that we can see, that we can talk, that we can write, that, maybe we have family, we have job. We complain about the job, we complain about the family, we complain about this body that is the instrument that is helping us evolve as eternal spirits, while there are millions of spirits, souls, that would love to have this chance of being incarnated, to evolve. The selfish person is the one who only knows about the pronoun I, me, myself. And what Jesus came to tell us is that we need to change that to we, us, that we are all brothers and sisters, that we need to practice fraternity, charity, cooperation, that when we bring compassion to our lives, we feel better, we feel happier. What about the gluttons? Emmanuel says that if they could see the damage they are causing to their body, accelerating their death, they would render unwavering worship to frugality and harmony. So there's a difference between happiness and pleasure, and many times we make the choices based on the pleasure in that specific moment, that short moment in time, when happiness is much longer, is the long run. But what I mistake here, I forget, is that when I am damaging my body, eating what I'm not supposed to eat, and today diet is so in vogue, the medications to lose weight, are, everywhere. I saw that Costco is going to offer that. We forget that if we are not bringing discipline to what we eat, we are damaging the body that was lended to us, and then we'll be responsible for it. And then Emmanuel closes reminding us that it all comes from ignorance. That's the source of evil. That people who are doing the wrong things is because they do not know what they are doing. When Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, no one comes to the Father except through me, is because he wants us to understand that we need to love our neighbor. We need to forgive other people's trespasses so we can forgive ourselves. That every time that we are judging other, we are bringing that judging energy around us. That if we want to be served, we need to serve first. Because it's giving that we receive harmony, peace, love. But as the 12 apostles for whom Jesus prayed at that moment of the cross, they were as fragile as we are. They received the invitation as we are receiving right now to serve, to do better, to become a better person tomorrow that I am today. To believe that we have this potential to grow, to become perfect as Jesus. So let's remember that we have all that potential within us. Let's not bring judgment. Let's remember to forgive, to help, to follow Jesus' steps, helping other people, those who need much more than we do, bringing gratitude into everyday's actions, looking for opportunities to do better, to become better, to help more. And with that thought, we close with our virtual Passe tonight. And then at this moment, I invite you all to close your eyes and be ready to receive, knowing that we start receiving these blessings the moment that we connect our hearts in synchronicity with the superior spirits. The moment that we get into a group like this, that we ask for help, that we search for more knowledge, for tools to become more equipped to win over, to overcome our own vices, our limitations, whatever they are. We receive. God, our Almighty Father, at this moment we ask that you deliver over us your light of blessings and peace that harmonize our bodies, our spirits. All of us who are here today, connected physically or not. Help us overcome all the mistakes that we have been living over and over again, repeating throughout the different lives, incarnations. Help us transform, become a new person, just like Paul suggested, leaving behind the wrongdoings, the wrong thoughts, and starting with a clean slate right here, right now. Dear Jesus, our model, our master, our brother, loved us all. Hold our hands in all the moments that we go through turbulence, difficulties. May we listen to your tips and ideas, suggestions, recommendations. Bringing your peace to wherever we are, so people can see you through us in the way that we look into others, the way that we talk to other people, the way that we behave, the way that we live. In this week, especially, we want to pray for Chico Xavier, for his birthday, for all the goodness that he brought to us, the infinite hours that he worked through all maladies, sufferings, pains, without looking for recognition, only having love as his purpose. We ask you to protect this house, this center, with love, with peace, and all of the spirits who go there looking for help, needing help, needing peace. Dear Jesus, we pray for our planet Earth that suffers so much, so people can find peace among their differences and forgiveness for their past actions. And with that, and with our hearts full of gratitude, we ask you to bless our water, put in there everything we need so we can have a balanced week with much love and light. Amen. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all a wonderful week.
Thank you. Thank you.